A play-scale LEGO Imperial Walker is once again available on store shelves, albeit this time it is a little different than the AT-AT sets that have been released previously, as this version is based off of the Imperial Remnant AT-AT as recently seen in the Mandalorian and Grogu. Can this new take on the classic design live up to the standards that previous LEGO AT-ATs have set? Let's find out. But before we go any further, you can also pronounce it AT-AT, I really don't care. The first thing to note about this set, of course, is the fact that it's based on the prototype AT-AT rather than the typical version first seen on Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back. The prototype AT-AT has been seen in a few different Star Wars projects in recent years, namely Rebels and Jedi Fallen Order, as well as of course during the opening sequence of The Mandalorian and Grogu. But with all of that out of the way, how is the set itself? I found the build to be a pretty enjoyable experience overall. There is a decent amount of Technic featured throughout the build, most of which can be found within the four legs of the walker, but at no stage did it feel annoying or unnecessary to me, and despite the build for the four legs being identical, I never found myself bored or not enjoying the build experience. Overall, I think that the legs all look pretty nice, featuring armor plating along the outside, and it's great that there's no unsightly Technic pin colours that stick out along the exposed Technic structure of the legs. On top of looking nice, the legs also provide excellent strength and stability to the set, keeping the main body of the AT-AT aloft high above the ground, and their construction also allows for a nice range of movement, which in turn means that you can put this set in all sorts of poses, which is great in terms of both play and display value. The main body of the walker also looks great, featuring some really nice shaping with no huge gaping gaps to be found, and I like the fact that there's quite a lot of exposed studs on display. It just helps it feel like a LEGO set. The contrast of dark and light grey panel pieces used for the main section of the walker not only helps to add a little more visual flair than what we typically see with all light grey AT-ATs, but I also think that it helps to sell the idea that this Remnant walker is just that. It's being repaired and held together using whatever parts the Imperial Remnant can find. The panels at the back of the walker feature some nice greebling, and opening them up reveals an area for neatly storing away this set's speeder bike. The speeder certainly isn't the most complex of builds, but I think that it looks good regardless, and most importantly for a speeder bike, it's very easy to swoosh around, so it's a much welcomed inclusion for me. Heading back up to the main area of the walker, there's a little hatch up top where you can drop Mando and Grogu in to take on the crew of the AT-AT, and of course you can open up each of the side panels to reveal this set's main interior and one of my favourite inclusions in a LEGO Star Wars set in a long time, the INT-4 Interceptor. Or if you'd like to call it the INT-4, that's fine too. This small scout craft was initially of course a design made by Kenner back in the 1980s for their toy line before being introduced into the official canon in The Mandalorian and Grogu, and this thing just has so much charm to it. Despite its small size, a minifigure does actually fit inside, and there's even a little hatch to pop their head out of, which is a really neat touch. The INT's front blaster cannon is included, and its pair of wings can be easily folded down to enter flight mode. The stickered Imperial logos on the wings are a nice touch, and I love how the trans orange pieces on the back look. Just as you would expect, the INT-4 is super swooshable and it offers a whole lot of fun and play value. Even with the INT stored inside of the AT-AT, you can still fit a few troopers inside, and one detail I do like quite a bit about this interior space is the use of brown and orange coloured pieces, which to me at least are there to again emphasise that this Remnant walker is far from being in great shape. Moving towards the front, one of the key differences between this prototype version of the walker and the traditional AT-AT is of course the head and neck area. The head of the AT-AT as seen in The Empire Strikes Back has a fuller shape to it, whereas the rear of the prototype's head is more exposed, and I think that LEGO did a great job of representing its design within this set. The Technic neck allows for some good lateral movement, which is nice in terms of play value. Another key difference with this version of the walker is the front section, with the main viewport being represented through a sticker here, which I think looks pretty good, although out of all the stickers in this set, it would have been nice to see this one be a print. Opening up the cockpit reveals just about enough space for two minifigures to sit in while leaning back, and there's a printed control panel for the driver to operate the walker. There's an assortment of weaponry on the head with some small blaster cannons on either side, as well as the two main cannons on the chin, all of which can be moved up or down. I really do appreciate just how well hidden and integrated the spring-loaded shooters are within the head, and they're fun to fire too. Honestly, they're just about the perfect example as to how to include spring-loaded shooters on a LEGO Star Wars set. Moving on to the minifigures, this set features a pretty stellar lineup. First up, the Mandalorian and Grogu are both featured in this set. Both of these figures are excellent in their own right, with Mando's Beskar looking better than ever, and Grogu is likewise great, featuring a new uniquely molded body which is far superior to his previous LEGO incarnation. However, both of these figures have come in a lot of sets recently, and especially considering that they come in the AT-AT attack playset that pairs perfectly with this set, I can't help but wish that LEGO had just included some more Imperial minifigures in their place instead. I understand why they didn't opt to go with a full Imperial minifigure selection, given that having Din and Grogu allows you to recreate the sequence from the movie, but for me personally, I just wish that LEGO had included more Imperials. Speaking of Imperial minifigures, we get 5 of them in this set. Starting off with the AT-AT driver, all of the printing across this minifigure looks really nice. Underneath the beautiful helmet you will find a female head with a single face print, and the light grey colour used helps to distinguish this minifigure from previous versions. Overall, I quite like this AT-AT driver minifigure. Next up we have a standard snowtrooper featuring the classic hooded headpiece. Once again, all of the printing looks great here, and underneath the hood helmet piece you will find a male head with a single facial expression. Like the AT-AT driver, this snowtrooper is a good minifigure that I'm glad to see included, but let's move on to the more interesting inclusions in this minifigure lineup. The Mandalorian and Grogu offered us our first look at the Imperial Remnant snowtroopers, whose distinguishing feature is their lack of the cloth covering for their helmets. I actually really like the concept of the Imperial Remnant snowtrooper, not only in terms of their visual design, but also in terms of the wider world building that they offer in getting across the lack of resources that the Imperial Remnant has to work with. Their design has been fantastically translated into minifigure form here, and to me at least, their helmet design and mold looks absolutely fantastic. Their torso and leg pieces are of course identical to that of the standard snowtrooper, and they both likewise feature male heads with single face prints underneath. I really do like these Remnant snowtroopers, and I think that they are easily one of the coolest looking trooper minifigures we've seen from LEGO Star Wars in a long time. Last but certainly not least, we have the Imperial Remnant Warlord, aka Commander Barrow. Despite not appearing on screen for all that long in The Mandalorian and Grogu, I'm still really happy to see this character included in this set, and I think that he looks absolutely fantastic. The printing for the fluffy lining of his jacket running from the torso piece into the legs is simply perfect. The beard printing for the headpiece is likewise brilliant, as is the choice of hairpiece, and I like the 2 face prints, especially the fear-stricken one that can help you to recreate that scene. Overall, I think that the Imperial Remnant Warlord is a fantastic inclusion in this set, and I'm really happy to see him here, as is the actor who portrayed him on screen, Hemke Madera. The minifigure lineup as a whole here is pretty great in my opinion. I do still, however, wish that Mando and Grogu had been left out for at least one more Imperial Remnant snowtrooper. But now I'm curious to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this set's minifigure lineup, and who you think should have been included as a minifigure in the comments section below. In terms of the things that I don't like about this set, there really isn't much that I have to say. As I said before, I do wish that LEGO had included some other minifigures rather than Mando and Grogu, especially given the fact that the AT-AT now feels like an add-on for this set. Usually at this point I would talk about how I think the price point for this set isn't quite right, suggest what I think would be a fair price point, and that would be that. Thankfully, however, I think that this set actually offers some great value for money for a LEGO Star Wars set in 2026. At €160, the Imperial Remnant AT-AT is easily one of the best Star Wars sets in recent memory in terms of value for money. The build experience is enjoyable, the set is huge, the minifigures are pretty great, and you even get 2 nice smaller builds that are seamlessly integrated into the walker. Don't get me wrong, €160 is a lot of money whatever way you look at it, but for a LEGO Star Wars set of this size and quality in 2026, there really isn't a better bang for your buck option out there right now in my opinion. This feels especially true when you compare it to another recently released set in the form of the Imperial Shuttle, which I did also do a review of, which you can check out on the end screen of this video. The Imperial Shuttle comes with less minifigures, nearly 500 less pieces, next to no playable interior space, and is severely held back by the lack of an appropriate display stand. And it costs just €10 less than the AT-AT. There's no doubt about it, if I could only choose to pick up one of these sets, it would be the walker every day of the week. This set is undoubtedly one of my favourites that LEGO Star Wars has had to offer in 2026 so far, and I don't think you'll be disappointed if you decide to pick it up for yourself too, even at its full price. So that's it for my thoughts on the LEGO Imperial Remnant AT-AT with INT-4. If you've stuck around to this point of the video, I would like to thank you very much for watching, and if you did enjoy watching this video and would like to see more videos from my channel, then please do leave this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already so you won't miss out on more LEGO Star Wars reviews just like this one. With all of that being said, I've been Dave, and I hope that you have a great day.